I think one of the maybe criticisms that we've gotten about online education is how can you have spiritual formation happening when you aren't face-to-face with somebody? And what we would argue is that it's very much a possibility, and it's very much a way in which people are growing and developing, because you are interacting with other persons. You are connecting with other persons in those online classes or in those online opportunities. Yeah, I grew up overseas. My parents were missionaries in Haiti, and so that opportunity kind of gave me a chance to make connections with a lot of different kinds of people. And it was through a lot of those interactions and connections that I really began to grow and develop in terms of who I understood myself to be spiritually and socially and in all of those dimensions. So that has always been kind of a driving force in terms of understanding what does spiritual formation look like. I think we've seen a little bit of maybe a glut in our churches that people really don't understand what it is. So how does a parent help a child grow spiritually when the parent really doesn't understand what that is? How do churches help family ministry models expand their notion of formation when sometimes the churches aren't defining it? You can't really measure and assess what you aren't defining. So the more we can define, then I think the more we can come back and say, have we done this? Are we growing in this area? How can we change or benefit in terms of how our people are growing as whole persons, but in particular spiritually? One of the things that my husband and I, who wrote the book, we co-wrote this book, Ecologies of Faith in a Digital Age. And a lot of that came out of our experience in online education. We've both been doing online education for more than 25 years. And we began to see this need to have sort of a model that has goodness of fit with online education principles, and yet the kinds of realities that people are dealing with in everyday life about formative opportunities and formation. And sort of the earlier years where it was very fundamental, there really wasn't a systems approach to online education. And I remember having a conversation with somebody who said, you know, in online education, you really cannot measure or evaluate or even have spiritual formation. And that really got me to thinking, I really think you can, because of my experiences in being an online education learner. I did my degree at a distance. I've done a lot of teaching in online education, and my experiences were just different. And so I began to really research and write and talk about this. So in the course of doing this work and this research, and we'd been speaking in this area, we met some individuals with Liberty University, and we began having conversations with them about how could we use that background, that research, and that work to impact online education at a school like Liberty University, which I think historically has been known for its online programs. And so that's how we came to Liberty University a few years ago. And since that time, we've been working with students to help them understand what does spiritual formation look like, and in particular, how does your involvement in these various networks to which they belong impact how they grow and develop as Christians. The misunderstanding about online education has parked itself, if you will, is looking at, can spiritual formation really be done online? And we say yes, because persons who are studying online or persons who are interacting online also have lives, other lives. They're engaging in church ministry. They're engaging with people in other sectors of their life. It's an ecosystem. Our students have benefited from taking courses in spiritual formation because they now have a greater understanding of what it means to grow and develop. I had a student who, in a sort of a summary paper for a course, wrote about this idea that she had previously viewed online education as sort of an isolating, autonomous experience, something that, you know, you study alone in the basement. But as a result of taking this course in this online education environment, and in particular looking at the issue of an ecology of faith, how we grow as Christians in a digital age, she came away with a greater understanding that the connections that she had formed online in the classroom were connections that would last for the rest of her life, and that she was able to then take advantage, if you will, of some of those relationships because they went beyond the classroom. If you look at any of the work in social psychology or social development, they'll tell you that isolated persons typically are underdeveloped in terms of emotional or intellectual development. Similarly, I think the same is true in terms of how we grow as Christians. That when we are isolated and away from others, that we aren't part of that body of Christ, that body of that community of a church, I think we can experience sort of this underdevelopment of spiritual formation. And so you're bringing those networks, those ecosystems, if you will, to an online classroom, and it's a bi-directional exchange, so that the dynamics that are happening in your home are part of that online learning experience, and then vice versa.